Well, welcome back, everybody. It's always special when we can record our guests in person, and even more so when it's in their house, in their environment. And today, we are here in historic Fenway Park, and we're going to be shining the light on the career journey, the success story, the superpowers of Boston Red Sox CIO Brian Shield. Brian is known as and respected nationally as a business-savvy industry innovator. And we're going to talk about the impacts Brian has made at companies such as FTD, the Weather Channel, and also the Red Sox, where he became CIO in 2013. Those who know Brian well know he's also, and more importantly, a great human. He's just an amazing person. And so we're going to start off with a good friend of his who knows him well and has a special mystery question. When we come back from that, we'll hear from Brian.
So I moved to Boston about 6 years ago, and I always remember your real, genuine outreach and willingness to support and help me and others within this thriving New England tech community. And one of your superpowers is the ability to join the dots on common problems and network with folks within your great ecosystem of people. It's accelerated me, and I know many others that you mentor and have relationships with. So my question to you is this, around the power of a trusted network. How have these relationships and your many selfless acts to help others actually gone 360 and in turn have helped you solve challenges in your team of business, allowing you to go faster and better at what you do?
So Brian, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Thanks for having us here. Beautiful office of yours.
It's a, welcome to Fenway Park.
Yeah, so who was that?
That's Jamie Head. You know, you can tell by his Boston accent. Formerly English accent, right. He's still in revision, but Jamie, longtime CEO with Ocean Spray, great colleague, really super sharp guy. I've had a chance actually to work with him quite a bit more recently. And, Jamie made the comment about, spending time with cultivating this network. And to me, we were talking about something of this earlier about this, but I feel like it's the most important thing that a CI can do to stay current in this ever-evolving world that we live in. Dan had made a comment about it'll never be as slow as it is now. So even though we think it's fast-moving, it's just going to happen much, much more quickly in the future. It's going to put a higher premium on the benefit of these relationships, because none of us can be an expert in everything. And all you have to do is look at AI. Gen AI is a good example. It's I literally don't learn about a new Gen AI tool. If I don't learn about 3 of them in a given week, it's a slow week. And so to me, it's a great example of if you don't have a trusted, cultivated network, you're really lacking, because it really puts you in a disadvantage, and you're only become as good as your own environment. And so to me, building those brands, learning from these people has, I think, dramatically accelerated my learning curve. And I think in turn, it ripples down through the organization. So to me, that's the secret success formula.
Yeah, a lot to that, what you just shared. I mean, that's the mark of a humble leader. That's the mark of a curious leader. You've got that hunger. Plus, you just like people, and people like Jamie. So thank you, Jamie, for that great question. And, Brian, in my introduction, I mentioned you started here in 2013, so 11 years ago and counting.
Yep.
You've broken all the careers over records, right? So you're on your third generation of your third life, right? Here. Right. But I'll also mention, just in fun, that was a year the Red Sox won a World Series. So amazing what a great CIO can do for a team.
Yeah, you would like to think that now that I've applied my craft, we'd be winning more. But yeah, we were really successful in 13, 18, but that had a lot more to do with David Ortiz than it did to do with Brian Shield.
Yeah, well, we one of the fun facts is the Red Sox the year before were last in their division, and they went on the next year. Only the second team ever to do that, to win the World Series. So as a CIO, how do you go from maybe a last place team to a first place team? How do you approach that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I know in 2013 when we won the World Series, I remember giving a presentation after that, and I remember the title of it being sort of how do you build a world champion caliber team, IT team? And there's a lot of actually things that we can take from baseball. And one of the ones that I tend to think of quite a bit is around staffing, because in my mind, arguably one of the most important attributes of a good CIO is their ability to attract and retain talent. And if you think about a baseball club and you think about the journey that a ball player goes through in order to be successful and get into the major leagues, you start off at, whether it's in college or some other kind of early stage thing, then you have to get into single A's, the summer leagues and double A and triple A and things. And you think about the progression from even when you field a team from, whether you're like a utility player, like I tend to think of as some employees, or if you tend to be sort of like, a Hall of Famer, where, some of our key people, our most important people in our team, or free agents, when I tend to think of them as consultants. And so I tend to oftentimes, and I think one of the most important things you can learn about the parallels of the analogies between staffing and the ball club might be around like having a farm system. How do you cultivate future talent? And so you can learn a lot from how we've done that, I think, here at the Red Sox. And I think we've learned a lot from doing the same type of thing. So we're constantly trying to cultivate, new talent all the time so that we're prepared for as things change in our organization.
Yeah, so important. I mean, you want to put a winning team out there every day, right?
Absolutely.
In your IT organization. We speaking of cultivate, we cultivated some pretty special mystery questioners. So we're going to tee up a second one right now, and let's see if you know who this is and have fun with your question.
In leading with empathy, can you share an instance where understanding and addressing the needs and challenges of your team led to breakthrough outcomes?
Oh, Bill Phelan.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
Yeah, Bill, I just think the world of him. He's very much a mentor to me, and someone who was originally he does a lot of he worked in investment for many years, and came up with the idea of actually taking FTD from a nonprofit to a for-profit model, and got leaders like Meg Whitman and others to join him in his journey. And I learned so much from Bill in terms of like how to be able to like pivot quickly and how to be able to make quick decisions and how to be able to kind of implement those things and move at a rapid pace, a pace that is a little bit different than you might have worked at a traditional company and things. And so, and innovate, like, Bill and I have now had the opportunity to work together for over 20 years, almost 25 years. And, we still get involved in projects that Bill, spins up. I still reach out to him on a regular basis to get his guidance and things like that. And, I think it's pivotal for any senior leader, maybe especially in technology, given the pace of change, to really have real mentors, people who you can turn to, who you respect, and who can, provide different elements of guidance and wisdom that many of us need, all of us need, in order to be effective in our respective careers.
Yeah. You're probably wondering, how did you find Bill Phelan? And I'm gonna give it up. I'm gonna give up my source right now. Your wife Brenda was very helpful and with some of these mystery questions. So thank you to Brenda.
Thanks, Brenda.
You're known for your business acumen, and I'd love to have you just unpack your role here is multidimensional, right? The different businesses that you are part of.
Yeah, I mean, I work for the Boston Red Sox and Fenway Sports Management. We've done a lot of really exciting things over the last 10 plus years, and and the really exciting thing too, even like being in the studio didn't exist 2 years ago. And the amazing thing about this organization is just looking out over Fenway Park is how effective they've been at sort of keeping the best of the past, yet surrounding it with sort of leading edge capabilities, technologies, fan experiences, and things like that. And so it's a great organization to be a part of because, they're constantly changing and they're very different. I mean, there's a lot of properties that fall under Fenway Sports Groups that people are familiar with, from Liverpool football to RFK racing, NASCAR, and other, sport lines. It's evolving very quickly. We're acquiring new brands, the Boston Common Golf and other sort of things. And as a result of it, we're starting to also learn from one another. So we're building a lot more synergies between our lines of businesses. We're trying to realize best practices, and we're trying to really kind of create a common view of the fan across our different lines of business, which is ultimately kind of what we aspire to do, in addition to winning ball games and hopefully being able to kind of win the hearts and minds of our fans.
Yeah, I definitely want to double click on that view of the fan, how you're thinking about that, how you're winning with data and so forth. But I want to double click on one of your answer the call moments. You mentioned the Pittsburgh Penguins. At one point, you needed to step in as the CTO and kind of build the organization down there. Your day job here didn't go away.
No, it was, so we acquired the Penguins about 2.5 years ago. Probably 6 months after the acquisition, the former CTO left, and I backfilled that role for 9 months until we found a really talented CIO or CTO and Alfred Smith, who was here in Encore. And interestingly enough, as you know the story, like I met Alfred as part of a Boston CIO event. And, I started talking about, he asked me about challenges, and I said, oh, we're trying to fill this position out of Pittsburgh. And he's, later on told me that he'd be interested. And it was fortuitous. I really feel like that just, was just happenstance. That it goes back to maybe something you said earlier, which is, these relationships sustain you. You never know, when you're going to sort of be able to sort of capitalize on these different learnings that you come across in your career. And something like that, like you would never think that would translate into something as important as it did. And so, for me also, what it meant is spending 9 months in Pittsburgh, on a pretty regular basis, one of the things it did too is it really sort of gave me a much clearer understanding of how much we're all alike, whether it's football or soccer in Liverpool, or it's hockey, the Pittsburgh Penguins, or baseball here for the Red Sox, or some of the other, areas that we look at for future acquisitions. Like we're probably like 90% the same, and so it's that 90% that we're really focused on now to see how we can basically build better business, how we can run more efficiently, how we can create better fan experiences and things. And so I look back on that time when I was there on a more regular basis, and it was so, again, fortuitous to helping me and I think helping our business run more efficiently.
Yeah, no kidding. It's interesting that you see those commonalities. You've never changed. You've never been in the same industry twice.
It's true.
You've always changed industry. So how has that equipped you and prepared you for this role today?
Yeah, in my mind, I started off in financial services, and I guess I thought early on that I'd probably remain in financial services. I guess I owe that to my mentor, Bill Phelan, for not being just in financial services. But, I kind of took a leap of faith. Early on, Brenda and I and our family kind of moved out to Chicago, and tried something different. And, in a very unique kind of startup kind of model in a certain sense, even though it's been around for quite a while, trying to change culture and things like that. And then going from that to the Weather Channel and then the Red Sox and working in different industries and technology industries, it's like, I think it's made me a much better leader. I think it gives you a greater appreciation of the different variations that occur in different kinds of companies, different kinds of cultures and things. And I think it's really given me sort of skills that I don't know that I would have had otherwise. I mean, institutional knowledge and super deep, depth of knowledge in any one industry is incredibly valuable to many industries. I think when you bring a diverse set of backgrounds, I think those diverse backgrounds are going to be even more important in the future when you think about AI and you think about the pace of change. I think you want people who are good athletes, people who can sort of adapt and have overcome in different areas, seen a lot and things like that. So I think it's been sort of an advantage that I feel really good about.
You hear a lot of CEOs talk about the technical athlete or the versatilist, right? That's really the skill set that wins the day in our profession. And a little while ago, you mentioned Fenway, and it's just such a beautiful place. You feel the history here. 1912, you know this, but for our audience, 1912 was the year Fenway opened. That was the year of the Titanic.
Yeah,
right?
a week later.
A week later.
Yeah, exactly.
To give you a sense of timing, but at the same time, really preserving the history, but also reimagining the future. There's a lot. Talk about what's going on here at the park.
Yeah.
More than 81 games a year,
Sure.
and hopefully playoffs.
Absolutely.
Right?
So Fenway is a very actively used, environment here, and beyond, 80 plus ball games a year. We host, ESPN bowl game at the end of every year. We host college events, other sort of sports properties and things like that. We've had pretty much everything you can imagine as events here. And one of the things it's done is it's made it very much a destination for a lot of different purposes. We host almost 300,000 fans will come through tours here at Fenway Park. That represents an enormous percentage of all tours in baseball. And in addition to that, like our Fenway events team does an amazing job hosting different kinds of companies and capabilities and things here. And so it's very much an evolving sort of living kind of environment. Outside of here, we're developing more than 2 million square feet of real estate. We just launched, this building that you're in now, that you're seeing the studio, is part of a larger project, which was building a 5,400 seat music hall that music hall's now been out there for over 2 years, and it's been great. And this NESN studio, which is an amazing studio and overlooks the ballpark, is just another sort of indication. But we're going to be developing more mixed use all around Fenway. I mean, Fenway in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be outside of Fenway. It's going to look remarkably different. We'll preserve those things that are best about Fenway and complement it with capabilities and amenities that I think fans will come to enjoy for many, many years to come.
Well, we just came from a CIO event. We were on a panel together upstairs, a couple hundred Boston area CIOs. It was pretty cool. Brian, I want to step back, and the prior chapter that you wrote at the Weather Channel was pretty special. And I think the data story there was just incredible. Ended up with selling the company for an amazing multiple, and the data story was a big part of that. But I've got a mystery question who's going to help unpack with the right question. So listen in.
You were hired at the Weather Channel to essentially drive the business into the digital age. Of course, during this time you were there, broadcast media was still in growth mode, while the internet and digital platforms were just emerging, such as mobile applications. What were your significant challenges across the people, the technology, the organization, and also collaboration across these domains?
So that's Rob Strickland with M37. He's like Bill, he's a mentor of mine. Really kind of a mentor in a different way. Whereas I look for Bill for great guidance on business and evolving kind of business models and things like that. Rob, in my mind, is kind of like the consummate exec chief, CIO, chief technology officer kind of person. He's got amazing connections. And he and I are such great peers. We really bounce a lot of things off one another. At the Weather Channel, I succeeded Rob, interestingly enough. So Rob was my predecessor at the Weather Channel. And I thanked him for fixing all those problems that persisted when I got there. But the Weather Channel was a fairly small business. I mean, in my tenure there, we literally went from an IT staff of like 30 some odd people to over 300 plus, not counting some of all the different tech companies that we actually owned and operated as well. And so, as Don, as we've talked about, Dan and I have talked about in the past, we really kind of were on a journey. We went on this journey from being a cable network to a media company, to a media information company, to really being a data technology company. And during that journey, our culture evolved quite a bit during that phase. And we made a decision very early on as our leadership team that we weren't going to be one of those folks. Having a channel like the Weather Channel, which was in every household, 100,000 subscribers around the country and things, it was terrific. And then, the web came out. And those early days that Rob was alluding to, I remember when I first started my first week, I was on weather.com. We just launched it. And I realized it didn't have a firewall. And I remember talking to the CEO at the time and saying, we need a firewall. And I said, and he goes, is it that important? So I'm like, do you lock your front door? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, we don't have a front door. And so we had a lot to do, and but we get to it, and we built one of the largest websites in the world, especially during hurricane seasons and things, which was really difficult at the time because the technology didn't exist. We did a lot of that through open source technologies, and the Weather.com group did a remarkable work that later on spun out to all of our mobile platforms. But we really always had sort of like the sum of the parts is greater than the whole mentality. It wasn't how do we preserve, share in any one market. It was a portfolio strategy, and I think it served them well, culminating ultimately kind of in the sale of at least the digital assets to IBM, and representing sort of IBM's portfolio for Watson for weather for many years.
So good. Thank you, Rob, for that great question. And Brian, I'd like to have you maybe unpack your playbook around building a data strategy. How you do that, and how that's working now in terms of the fan experience that you're creating here. You think about the different groups out there that you serve.
Yeah, building a data strategy is, obviously it varies widely depending upon kind of where your company is in its evolution. It also is dramatically impacted by your culture. Trying to build a data culture here. I mean, we had a longstanding culture in baseball. Everyone's familiar with Moneyball and the success that organizations like the Red Sox have realized as a result of understanding player performance and things like that. But we really kind of lack that same sense of urgency and successfulness that we realized in baseball in our business side. So we were back just before COVID. We were able to successfully get some funding to build out our data cloud environment, which we also coupled with complete migration to Salesforce. And we really kind of built around a single view of fan. We had a great partner in Growth Loop who kind of worked with us to kind of help build that world out under Google GCP. And that really kind of became the hub of all business transactions that we did, all fan engagement transactions, I should really say. And as a result of that, we really now have a much, much greater understanding of fans, fan behavior, fan amenities, being able to sort of understand sort of both how do we reach fans, how do we sell more efficiently to fans, what kind of services do fans prefer? You know, again, and we keep adding more data sources to this model. You know, fortunately, in partnership with Growth Loop, we've been able to make that same sports model available to now over 30 sports franchises in the US at least. And, you know, and to me, that's been great because we don't compete for fans. You know, we compete on the field. But when it comes to fans, we want everyone in sports to have the best fan experience they can have. And if we can help be an agent to fuel that advancement, then terrific. The other real benefit of that has been that all these companies contribute back something. You know, and so that contribution back has really sort of accelerated our growth, has really allowed us to kind of continue to kind of evolve more quickly than we would on our own. So it's been a real win-win scenario for our company.
Yeah, you're a big open source guy. You're also a big open book guy. You're very, very sharing with these things. And Brian, we have a couple of your CIO friends who helped us out here, and a couple mystery questioners.
Okay.
And these are going to be more around your thoughts around technology today. So let's listen into the first one, and you're going to know who this is right away.
As you know, AI is the hot topic everywhere. Much of it is hype, but AI obviously has created value and will continue to be leveraged more and more, both with consumers as well as within companies. How are you having the conversations with your peers or others in your organization to help explain where AI can provide value in your company versus the AI hype that seems to be everywhere?
It is a great question. I think that's Kathy Counts. Hey, Kathy, thank you so much for your the question. Yeah, it's a great question, very timely question. We you know, the really good news here, I think, for Fenway Sports Group is that we're really beginning now, much, much more so than they had in the past, to really realize efficiencies and benefits and try to drive best-of-breed solutions across our lines of business. And I think AI is going to be one of those opportunities for us. You know, we're kind of, in our world, we've experimented quite a bit with AI. We've done a lot of pilots, kind of like very sort of almost in a very quiet fashion, I think. You know, we've looked at different pilots, whether it's like on the baseball analytics side, on the business side, how we can drive efficiencies with video. We've got a great partnership with Wasabi. You know, we're now testing new things with them, like how do we basically take historical video footage and be able to give fans an experience where we can now let them sort of pick someone like, say, Ted Williams and be able to, you know, see past videos for that particular person in the past and things. And so we're now starting to tie together new AI capabilities. It's still all very early stage, but like a lot of companies, I think we're super excited about it. We're just now really trying to put some guardrails around it. You know, like a lot of companies, the challenge with AI, you know, oftentimes is just ensuring that there's clarity about, you know, both sort of the pros and cons in some cases, but also even more importantly, I think, about the opportunities and kind of where those exist. So we're building very much kind of a portfolio understanding of where we think AI will most efficiently benefit our business. And the other thing we're doing is we're reaching out across, you know, 1,400 more CIOs to really understand too, like, what's everyone using? Because this is a great example where doing this on your own is a recipe for failure. And so we're really kind of doing outreach to better understand how are people doing pilots, what AI capabilities seem to be most encouraging, you know, which ones are generating hallucinations or other challenges and things. So to me, this is the perfect example of don't do it yourself. It's kind of one of those situations where you need to kind of do outreach, get a better sense for kind of what works, what doesn't, and then kind of make small bets. And then over time, parlay those into the appropriate strategy. So we're really excited about it. I think it's going to be a big, big step forward, especially in the area of like fan engagement and fan opportunities. I think there's a lot of things there in addition to sort of sports analytics.
we were just talking upstairs in the panel about first mover advantage. And we said, you don't have to be first mover in everything, but you got to be first mover in the right things.
Exactly.
And I think you just nailed that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Kathy. One of the best in the business, CIO of Bose today, and just appreciate her and all that she brings to our industry. I have another one of your colleagues, Brian, who I don't know if she was more successful as a CIO or if she'd been more successful in this chapter 2 of hers. But let's listen in, and you're going to know who this is right away.
Since the world of technology will never stand still, and we haven't been so great at estimating the impact of technology in the near term or the long term, my question for you is, what technologies do you think will be the most important in the future?
So that's Ian Margley's former CIO at Harvard University and a dear friend of both myself and my wife, Brenda. But what technologies will be most successful in the future? I mean, the one thing is, I know AI is ever present these days, and I think we can't go anywhere without kind of learning and hearing about it. But it's for those that think that AI is overhyped or it's not going to have the impact that others think. I think they're dead wrong. Having sort of had an opportunity to always be a practitioner, in technology from very early on as a software engineer, I've been able to kind of, start with the early PCs and then, move to like the internet and then web and then mobile and things like that. And to me, this is more potentially, to me, I equate it almost like, the growth of the internet in some ways. I think it's going to be that impactful and that it's going to have such a transformational impact on so many things that I think today we don't really understand because we're still early stage. But I think it's going to be fundamental. Having said that, some things never change, and I think, the commitment to people, as I said earlier, attracting or retaining the right talent, on the technology space, getting your data right, having a proper data strategy, there's no substitution for that. In the world of AI, if you don't have, data hygiene, you don't have your data in a proper working order, then it doesn't really matter. AI is not going to be a friend, it'll be a foe. And so for those that have not made that commitment, they really need to. And then, without sort of maybe identifying any one technology, to me, I just think it's so important for CIOs and CTOs and, leading technology executives to really have a strategy around emerging technology in general. Not just AI, but sort of like whether it's IoT, whether it's different forms of, private 5G or other sort of things. You don't always, as Dan was saying earlier, you don't always have to be at the, the tippity point of the spear, but you need to have awareness. And you also need to kind of know and have relationships with some of those other people that are further along than you are. So you can sort of gauge your, kind of where you are relative to them and when it's appropriate for your company to pivot. And I think that pivot and knowing when to make those transitions are just things oftentimes that many CIOs overlook until it's too late and adversely impacts the success of their business.
And thank you so much. Great question. I was at a very special evening right here at Fenway that you hosted. It was the Boston CIO group. It was a Christmas holiday party. And it was coincided with Ann's retirement from Harvard.
Yeah.
And you took a piece of the Green Monster and had her name painted on it and presented. It was pretty special night. I'm sure you remember it.
I do. Well, yeah, it's like that took a special ask. We kind of reserve some of those things for Red Sox employees and things like that. But, Ann has always been like a pivotal part of the Boston CIO organization, still is. And she's a mentor to so many of us. So I knew it would make a difference. And I'm glad it really, resonated with her.
Special lady, one of the things that we collaborated on, she was actually the one who had the vision for the Harvard IT Academy. And kind of like many people like to model after the things you're doing,
Yep.
A lot of people have modeled their learning cultures after what Ann built at Harvard, which is pretty special, continues on today.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. She's a super thought leader in so many different areas.
Yeah. So, Brian, we're at that point in the show here. Red Sox do a lot for the community. You do a lot for the community. We commit $150,000 a year in scholarships to our TechLX, our 9-month leadership program. And so I'd like to give you the ability to gift a seat in that program to one of your favorite nonprofits.
Yeah, so, very much would like to give that to the Red Sox Foundation. They do an amazing job here and across New England. where Red Sox fans are. And I can't think of a better organization to receive that and have an impact on our community.
Fantastic. We'll definitely get connected with them, and our team gets a lot of joy from that. To be able to help those organizations. So Brian, busy day for us. We started off upstairs with the panel at the Future IT event. We're going to do an article together. It'll be out next week on SEO.com. And then tonight, you're going to host us at the Sox. So
I am, and hopefully we'll win tonight. So we're really excited about having everyone join us, and I know it'll be a great event.
Well, you're a data guy. So what does the data tell you? Are we going to win tonight? What do you think? We're
going to win tonight.
We're going to win tonight. I love the confidence. Well, there you have it. Amazing leaders. You see a lot of the commonalities, but you see the nuances in how great leaders like Brian think, how they lead, how they network, connect, learners, constant learners, curious, humble. And I just appreciate you so much. I've actually enjoyed a good Dunkin' Donuts coffee on your dining room table.
That's very true.
And I think we solved most of the world's problems at that time.
Most of them. There's still a few left.
Yeah, but thanks for all you do, not just in Boston, but really nationally for our profession. And I have a gift for you, by the way. We have our Tech Whispers Yeti.
Nice.
So got to keep you hydrated.
Okay, terrific.
And don't drop that on your toe because it's pretty heavy.
I won't.
But thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you again for having me.
And again, beautiful day here in Fenway Park. And so with that, we'll see you all next time. Thanks very much.
You've been listening to Tech Whisperers, inside the playbook of the best digital leaders, a Woolette and Associates podcast. Keep connected with us by subscribing to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you like what you've heard, please rate the show, as this helps us connect the world's best digital leaders with those who aspire to learn, grow, and thrive in this amazing profession. Thanks for listening. Until next time.